Thanks for checking out Mornings with Lone Star podcast on irlonestar.com. Don't forget, Mornings with Lone Star is live every weekday on irlonestar.com from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m., covering all things Texas country music and Montgomery County news, with weather and traffic at the top and bottom of every hour. You can call in at any time with a song request at 936-647-3776 or Facebook message us on Facebook or tweet us on Twitter. Mornings with Lone Star would like to say a special thank you to the sponsors of Mornings with Lone Star, our neighbors at Conroe Coffee in downtown Conroe, catering by All-Star, Michal B. Young, financial representative with Northwestern Mutual in the Woodlands, and the Texas Renaissance Festival in Magnolia, Texas. Stoney LaRue right there with Us Time. Mornings with Lone Star here at irlonestar.com, Montgomery County's community radio station. Good morning, everybody. We're doing our Meet the Candidates a little early. We'll have a little jump start on this Thursday morning. It is kind of foggy in downtown Conroe, so let's move on. We got Nathan Arizani in the studio with me with Montgomery County Lifestyle. He's on his computer, of course. I don't know exactly what he's doing, but we do have another special guest for our Meet the Candidates. We have Congressman Kevin Brady on the phone. Congressman, are you there?
I am, Dick. Good morning. How are you doing?
We're doing pretty good over here. You know what's really funny is I reached a new level here as my reputation grows in downtown Conroe. I sometimes don't have to pay for coffee. It's amazing. When they told me that, I was like, wait a second, what? But I only get black coffee, so I guess they kind of figured it's a wash in their books because they make so many other fancy types of coffee. I'm like, I would just like black coffee straight.
Well, that is a great level. They actually, once they know me, they make me pay twice the price. I don't know why.
I believe it.
Exactly that is, but I pay it. But.
And cash only. That's it. No credit cards.
Cash only. That's exactly right. We don't want to check from anyone with the government. So.
But again, we appreciate you calling in. If you don't mind, don't give away too much of your surroundings. But are you in the Woodlands, or is this like a secret?
Yeah, I am. No, I'm at my house. In fact, my junior in high school just left, and my seventh grader's getting up in a minute. So I'm just here keeping a little quiet till everyone gets up.
Well, again, I appreciate you taking that time. With Nathan here, what our program here is, folks, is we kind of get to know the candidates, and then we kind of move into some questions we have, and basically it's meeting the candidates. So let's start off. What's funny is you can always do research on the internet, and Mr. Brady, you've been here for a while. You've been in Congress, is it since 1997, correct?
Yeah. I'm the first U.S. representative from Montgomery County ever elected.
Now, see, that's interesting to me because when I was reading about this area, basically before you ran, you were, or was the Woodlands Chamber of Commerce? Is that the one?
Yeah, I was Chamber of Commerce executive there in South Montgomery County, and was in Beaumont before I came over to Montgomery County.
And then when you ran, the man in the seat at the time basically wasn't running again. And
yeah, it was Jack Fields. He did a great job, but from Montgomery County, the county had been growing, and the way the legislature had always cut it up into three different congressional districts, and so there was like a intersection in Shenandoah where you could put a foot in literally three different congressional districts, and that's sort of how they kept our county from having a representative in Congress. And so when it got united and put back together, and Jack Fields did a great job, but when he stepped down, it gave our county the first chance to elect their own representative.
Which is really funny to me is reading the timeline of when you started running. You basically at that time had to rerun again because of the Supreme Court ruling.
Yeah, there was redistricting, so there's 4 elections in 1 year.
Yeah, that to me sounds stressful.
Yeah, it's still the record in Texas. And my motto at the time, our motto was, every month we don't have an election is a good month, because it just happened over and over. It was really exhausting for everybody. But, you're supposed to work hard. These are supposed to be big challenges if you want to represent our county up there.
Now, did they really give you a phone? Did they really call you and just say, hey, we kind of decided to redo things. You got to do it again?
Yeah, that's sort of it. The court just threw out the maps, and even though our district had only changed 1%, they just ordered everybody. So we ran in March, and then a runoff in April, and then ran again. They threw everyone back into the race in November, and then the runoff was near Christmas. So there's nothing quite as irritating to voters as hearing political ads around Christmas time. And
that's when you just mail it in.
I think everyone was ready for that. But again, look, these things are supposed to be difficult. So it was it was a good way to start all this.
Well, with those experiences you went through voting 4 times in a year, coming up on in February is the early election, and March 1st is the election. What experiences are you going to be using to, I guess, in a campaign sense, to use? What are you going to, with all those experiences you have?
Well, I've always taken a grassroots approach, and as you know, best decision my wife and I made was never to move to Washington. I live here in Montgomery County, in the Woodlands. My wife and I, we adopted 2 little boys. They're now, as I said, junior high and in high school. I commute to work each week. It's not because I like the airline food or TSA, but I've always wanted to stay close to the communities and the neighborhoods I represent. So I've got, I think, more than 2 million miles flying back and forth. I do more than 50 town hall meetings a year, and my thinking is that's how I hold myself accountable to the voters, because you won't agree with every vote I cast. My wife doesn't agree with every vote that I cast, but she ought to be able to talk to me about it. You ought to be able to ask me about it, and I should be able to explain it. And so that's how I've always never got in that Washington stuff. Always stayed grounded back home here, and it's made a big difference.
Now, I want to have to lead that into another question, because I've been really interested about the development of the procedures the government has, and with technology being so great, this is going to be kind of like a multiple layer question. Do you see Congress and any type of form of government, Washington D.C., doing kind of like the new trend today is working from home? And is there a way, do you see how Congress is going to be built where you don't have to be flying really ever? You can just stay here and do everything remotely.
Boy, there's plenty of days I wish that were the case, to be honest. But I hope not, for this reason. When you're tackling the biggest issues this country ever faces, I'm convinced this country's on the wrong track in a big way. You know, you've got to look people in the eye on these big issues. You've got to convince them that we've got to risk our reputations. You got to risk your elections to actually solve the big things, from the deficit to fixing this terrible way Americans are taxed, to saving Social Security and Medicare, which we have to do. If we want to get our financial house in order, if we want to save those programs, we've got to do that. So, you know, there's, as you know in your own life, sometimes there's just no substitute for just sitting across from someone or getting them in a room and saying, you know, gang, we need to do this for the country. You just can't do it remotely.
No, I agree with that. And now with that same idea with technology, where can I go currently to monitor you in a sense? Because the way Congress works is you're a representative of the Woodlands in this area, and you are part of the voting process for bills and all that good stuff. Where can I go to see what you're doing?
Well, a couple of things. One, there's no substitute for face-to-face. So, you know, we like to make sure people know about our town halls and they're invited. We do a lot of them. You know, we go beyond just doing it at the, you know, local city council chambers, the chambers of commerce. We go into companies. We do night shifts at businesses in the distribution area in Conroe. You know, we have a lot of meetings, and so there's no substitute for face-to-face in my thought. But we've got a Facebook page. We're in Twitter, Instagram. We're pretty aggressive on social media. If you got issues, we got a staff that just, you know, if you run into them or call them, I guarantee you they're on the phone with me or emailing me right away. And so there's just a lot of ways. We put up all our votes online as well, so you can see what we're working on. And so we try, and we're always looking, by the way, for better ways to do that. So if you've got ideas or our constituents do, let me know.
Well, one thing I would like to see, and I've always I love reading the law. And, you know, the Supreme Court, when they rule, they always have a person who kind of writes a brief, or I'm not sure what the correct term is, basically like a summary of why they voted this way or that kind of thing. And you can actually read it. You can read their words they write down, especially what's going on with this case and what their thought process was. And another way you can do it a little easier, I imagine, is making some type of YouTube channel or something where you are on screen talking about, this is what we voted for, I voted for it, here are my points. Yeah. I mean, there's different strategies you can definitely convey it to everybody.
You're exactly right. We do some of those things. We do, I think, have a YouTube channel where we put our floor speeches on, and the hearings, Ways and Means hearings that we're, like when we hold the IRS accountable for targeting conservatives, things like that. We also do a e-newsletter. We do a statement on almost every vote that we do. But and I do telephone town hall meetings because people can't always get to the town hall, so we try to make it convenient. But you're right. We've got to look for new ways to let people know not just what we're doing, but that we're listening.
Because and what I love about it, and this is just me being a record person, I love having records of it. And I know you probably don't like that because, people will probably pull stuff out of the, 20 years ago and be like, look what you said and things like that. But that happens to you all the time. But, I mean, then again, that position you have is such a valuable position, and especially in the future of the country.
It is.
And that's where you get your armor from.
It is. But, growing up, I never dreamed of being Congress. Never. We grew up in a town a little smaller than Conroe in the Black Hills of South Dakota, Rapid City, South Dakota. It was small states, small towns, but really big work ethic. And people didn't boast. They just wanted the government to leave them alone and so they could lead their lives. So I had grew up there. We had 4 brothers and sisters. We lost our dad when I was 12. He was a lawyer in that town. Had taken on a case for our local church for a woman who really needed to get out of a marriage, and unfortunately her husband was violent, threatened Dad, threatened my mom. My mom had actually learned to use a gun just to protect the family. Unfortunately, when the trial started, the gentleman followed through with his threat. He stood up, shot and killed Dad in the courtroom, shot his wife and killed his wife, shot the judge, thankfully, who lived. So here's my mom in her 30s, left to raise 5 of us by herself, which is unbelievably. We have 2, and we can barely keep up with it. So, what I owe everything I am to my mom and to God. But she raised us to be independent, to have faith in God, to be optimistic, to give back the community that we lived in. And so all those principles are what I've carried all through my life. Was real involved in school and church. Was a Boy Scout, student body president. Small towns, you can do all sports, and so was an athlete. Played on a couple state championship baseball teams. Worked my way through college at the University of South Dakota. That's where all our family went. Was a meat packer, construction worker, maintenance guy, a sheet metal worker, waiter, bartender. Just took any job that paid in college. And after school, I finished with this. I started working at the Chamber of Commerce, and I loved that work. I did it for 18 years, my whole adult life, really, because you help start small businesses like yours. You help them start up. You help them through tough times and good times. You build a business climate in your community. You recruit industry to it. You try to improve, the job opportunities in the community. And so all that is what led me to run for the state legislature in a seat where no Republican had ever won. Then later, without ever dreaming I would do this, run for Congress because no one in our county had ever been elected. Our county had never had representation up there. And so that's sort of the background. That's what shapes me every day that I work up there.
Well, we're going to have to take a quick break. We just learned a lot about Kevin Brady. If you're just now tuning in, where we're talking to Congressman Kevin Brady for a special Meet the Candidates segment. When we come back, I want to talk to you, Mr. Brady, about really the future and what's going on with you in the current state of Congress. So stick around, folks. You're listening to Mornings of Lone Star, Montgomery County's morning radio show. We got great music coming up, too. So right now, here's some Damn Quails for you with Just a Little While. We'll be speaking to Kevin Brady here after this.
Hi, this is Catering Cody with All-Star Catering Company. We've been catering for Montgomery County since 2005. We are now offering take-home casseroles available for you to pick up Monday through Friday. To learn more, give us a call at 936-228-0440. Send an email to info@cateringbyallstar.com or check us out on Facebook at Catering by All-Star. So come on in and get your dinner tonight and feed your family the simple way with All-Star Catering.
Natalie Rose, Promise Me Beautiful. It is 7:37. All these songs are about Nathan and I. It's so awkward. No, I'm just kidding. He's giving me a good look. We are listening to Mornings with Lone Star here at irlonestar.com. We're broadcasting live in downtown Conroe right next to the Crichton Theater and across from the Owen Theater. We're doing Meet the Candidates all the way to about 10 a.m. this morning. So if you're not registered to vote, you have till February 1st to get that registry done. So please, you have plenty of time. Take some time. mctx.org/election. Right now we're talking to Congressman Kevin Brady. He's on the phone. He's online, too, at bradyforcongress.com. And also he's on Facebook. And we're going to jump right into it. Mr. Brady, are you there?
Yes, sir. Thanks again for having this great conversation.
Man, I love talking, especially when you have, especially when there's free coffee involved. I'm all about that.
I think I found somebody that talks more than me.
Well, man, look, I'm not going to say a word.
Well, let's jump right into what we kind of led off with, or before we start listening to that great music we play here. You right now are in a race and trying to manage all that stuff while managing being on the Ways and Means Committee. One thing I want to kind of introduce to people is what the Ways and Means Committee and how Congress really works, because Congress really, it's in a sense, it's a big group of people, and then it's divided into committees, correct?
Yeah, and that's where most of the work is done in the committees.
And with those committees, they're appointed or created through, is it Congress that creates these committees, or is it an outside party that creates them?
Each house, the House and Senate, each creates the committees, and then you compete to get on a committee, usually in an area that you've got expertise or you've got a real passion for. And Ways and Means Committee, because it's considered perhaps the most powerful committee in Congress, because it affects so much of your everyday lives. It's one of the ones people work the hardest to get onto, and then work the hardest to work their way up on it. And thankfully, 3 years of hard work. Now I've followed Paul Ryan as chairman of that committee, and it just is a chance to make a huge difference in the future of our country.
So to give people more of an understanding, you guys do have a website for it. It is by the government, so it's waysandmeans.house.gov, and you kind of get an idea of exactly what they're doing with it. They even have a Twitter account, which is pretty insane to me. I doubt that you're in charge of that, but somebody is, and that's a good one thing I love about the technology I'm going to keep talking about since we're internet radio. It's a great way to communicate through these to these people. And one thing that interests me about the Ways and Means Committee is how old it is. It is very old. It seems
oldest committee in Congress, and constitutionally, no change in the tax law can occur unless it starts in the Ways and Means Committee. Changes in our biggest programs like Social Security, Medicare, start in the Ways and Means Committee. Replacing Obamacare, which is just a terrible health care law, starts and is led in the Ways and Means Committee. Then welfare and trade, big issues too, because we've got more people on welfare in America than are working full time. All of that is led by the Ways and Means Committee, the reason I love serving on it and now leading it is because you can make such a big positive difference in the way people lead their lives and the way the country goes.
Going into that, Congressman Brady, can you expand a little bit as being chairman of the House Ways and Committee? Some things that you've done, some things you're working on. Can you expand on what you just hit are some terrible things going on in the country and what you're going to do? How you trying to make a difference as chairman? Yeah,
we really. I'll tell you one. We came off a very strong year. The media didn't cover it. They don't. If there's something positive, you're not going to hear about it. But last year I was chairman of the Health Subcommittee at the time. We fixed a problem in Medicare that's a looming crisis, which is Medicare doesn't pay local doctors fairly, so they aren't seeing very many seniors. And so when you're retired, when you're senior, you need to see a doctor and one who knows you. It had been a looming crisis for 15 years. I got the lead, took over health, immediately made it my priority. Last year we actually solved the way we pay local doctors, and it's going to change. It's the first real step to save Medicare for the long term. At the end of the year, when I was named to follow Paul Ryan when he became Speaker, I took on the first step to fixing our tax code, which is there's a lot of parts of the tax code that are temporary. They're extended year for year, like the state and local sales tax deduction. That saves our Texas families over $1 billion a year. So, I pulled together a way to make these tax cuts permanent so families and businesses can rely upon them. People have been trying for years. We succeeded, and so that's the first real step in tax reform. So we come out of the year with big momentum. But here I'll stop with this. Paul Ryan has laid out 5 goals for conservatives, for Republicans for 2016. Starts with a strong national defense, a 21st century military. But the next 4 all will be led by Ways and Means Committee, starting to fix this broken tax code, replacing Obamacare, reforming welfare so we get people back to work, in passing trade agreements that allow us to build things in America and sell them around the world. All those will be led by the Ways and Means Committee. So in 2016, and with what we hope will be a Republican president, we think the next 2 years are critical for the future of the country.
Well, one thing that kind of alarms me when you read about the Ways and Means Committee, if this is it's been around since 1789, if I'm reading this correctly.
Yeah.
One thing, you guys cover and handle and execute a lot of different areas the way this country is run. Do you see that being a problem? I mean, because a lot of times when it comes to voting, a lot of people are saying there's a lot of problems in this country. And one thing I know, if I'm running into problems, I look at the past, see what caused these problems, and why this keeps happening. Do you think there's a problem with the way the Ways and Means Committee is set up today, because it's so old and our country's always evolving, and especially what you're responsible for? Because to me, I don't know how you're going to be able to accomplish all these things without losing one of them.
Yeah. Well, look, my belief is if everything's a priority, nothing's a priority. So you have to set your priorities, and you've got to stay after it and hold yourself accountable. Secondly, though, if you think about those issues, they all wrap into a pro-growth agenda, and that's what I'm about. I think we need to grow our economy. We need to grow our paychecks. We need to grow opportunities. And the Ways and Means Committee is, and what I've laid out is a pro-growth agenda, which is let's grow the economy by stopping this terrible way we tax people and families and businesses. It's horrible. Let's grow the economy by getting people out of welfare and back in the workforce so we can grow the economy. Let's do these trade agreements that basically tell countries, if you're going to sell in the U.S., we get to sell in your country. And for Texas and for our region, we're the number one seller around in the country. No one sells or ships more around the world than we do. Big jobs for us. The other part is let's grow our financial security as a nation, which means Social Security, Medicare, hugely important programs, but they're in deep financial trouble. We'll never get our budget in order as a nation, and we'll never keep the promises to people unless we take steps now to save those programs. And we've actually, in Ways and Means Committee, on Medicare especially, started real steps. I've laid out a 3-step plan to save Medicare for the long term. So here, my short answer is all of these have good solutions. You've got to break them down and work them hard every day, and you've got to convince the American public and lawmakers that the only way we can have a bright future again is if we tackle these problems head on. Just tell the truth about them. They're in trouble. Here's the options. This is what we got to do. And I'm convinced we can do this.
And that's the one thing I wish – I don't know how they could do it, but similar to what I was talking about with the Supreme Court writing the opinions, because they don't always write an opinion after a ruling, but that's to me one way that we understand why people are voting this way, and having that have that available for people, because there are a bunch of things coming up in this country, like social basically like anything that has to do with the internet. That's going to be a huge argument in the next 5 to 10 years.
Well, the government – Obama's is seriously trying to regulate the internet, turn it into utility. It's exactly the wrong thing to do. The reason it's flourished is because government hasn't had its hands and fingers into it every day. So we've got a big fight on this White House. The good news is a Republican president, because this president did it by executive order in his agencies, a Republican president can stop that cold.
And well, one thing, like with those ideas, why do you think I guess in a sense, the the mentality of the folks who are trying to always pass these bills like CISPA and the I can't pronounce it, sorry. Let me get this out. Transatlantic Trade and Investment Partnership. When they get shut down, they come back again under a new acronym, and it's just going to keep going. So as a citizen, and how do we prevent these things from ever happening again? Because there are...
well, as you know, no White House has ever made a grab for power like this one, and it's going around the checks and balances of the Constitution, and all of its bad ideas are blocked by us in Congress. And so they keep overreaching with executive orders, and we keep one in the House. We block them. We pass a bill. We stop the funding, send it to the Senate. It never goes anywhere. It just sits there. And so we've had to, in the House, actually take the president and the White House to court repeatedly, giving ourselves standing on Obamacare, on the executive orders, on immigration, encouraging states to challenge it. So we've had to use every constitutional power we have to stop this White House, and it is we've still got a year to go, and they're still doing it on guns, and they're still trying to do it on global warming, and so we have a fight every day on our hands up there.
And from what I understand, the only current way for us as a citizen to really fight is just to call you and just hope for the best.
Yeah, well, there's other ways you can do it. One, you can encourage the Senate to take these bills up. I think we sent 60 bills to defund, delay, dismantle, repeal Obamacare. One finally made it out of the Senate and to the president's desk, and only because the House designed the bill so it could get around the Senate's 60-vote rule. So, you weigh in with the Senate and then help us build public support for all this, because, the left, man, they have all their people engaged to grow government. We need everyone engaged to shrink government.
Well, we're going to have to take another music break, Mr. Brady, and what I would like to do when we come back, we have one more segment with you, because I know you probably want to get on with your day today, and we appreciate you calling in, is we're going to focus on, if you don't mind, about why you're going to rerun, or I guess you're back in the race, and talk more local politics here, and get more from you. And I think Nathan wants to say something.
Well, not just local politics. I mean, because he is here, lives here locally, but he's got a huge district.
Well, I don't mean other local politics. I mean like him. He's running here.
Right.
So,
and that's where we want to go back to what we talked about off the air and before too, is what the House Ways and Means is going to address, what you're going to address, the left part, the president, the different people he's controlling with trying to take guns away, and if he's not trying to take guns away, just the ridiculous banter, turning people against law enforcement. Yeah. This Obamacare's got to be defunded, and there's so much more. So, just show us your passion. Tell us what you're going to do, what you're doing, and make us believe, because I think that's what this country needs, is to believe again, and to believe in somebody, and to believe in their vision. So.
Right.
That's my request, is rock and roll when we get back, and tell us why.
Good. Thanks.
We'll be right back. We got great music here on Mornings with Lone Star. Here's some Randy Rogers Band. This song is called Neon Blues. When we come back, meet the candidates with Congressman Kevin Brady.
Imagine a place where you can sip on Italian coffee and have a sandwich, followed by a fabulous, delectable pastry. We invite you to stop by Conroe Coffee to experience old world charm. Conroe Coffee is located next to the historic Creighton Theater in downtown Conroe. We are open 7 days a week. Please check our website for business hours at conroecoffee.com. You can also follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Have a caffeinated day.
Behind every victory is someone who helped make it happen. Call them mentors, coaches, or even mom or dad. At Northwestern Mutual, we call them partners, the financial professionals that can help you tap into strengths you might not even know you have, and guide you where you want to be financially and personally, because no one wins alone. Start building financial security with Northwestern Mutual. Contact Michael Young today. Visit michael.b.young@nm.com. You and Northwestern Mutual, stronger together. The Northwestern Mutual Life Insurance Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
It is 7:55 here on Mornings with Lone Star. Meet the candidates going all the way to about 10 a.m., leading up to the Cindy Cochran Show. Again, it is 7:55. We have Congressman Brady on the line for one more segment. We appreciate you calling in. And we're going to jump right back into it, Congressman Brady, and we're going to kind of go. I would like to focus on a little bit. You are running, and you want people to vote for you. That's kind of part of the reason you called in, I hope. And then I know Nathan's really passionate about this
I got a question
ways
for
and
him.
means, and we didn't even touch national security, and that's something that you might be in charge of or vote for. And I know a lot of people want to know more about how with the ISIS and then domestic terrorism and everything the people think this country's going crazy.
Well, and I know I go to a lot of events, whether it's a community organization, nonprofit, a parade, Golden Girls at the high school, or elected official event.
You're everywhere.
Well, here's the thing. Talk to us about the omnibus bill that a lot of people didn't think should pass because they felt like that gave the Democrats and Obama some power, and their question was, why are we funding Planned Parenthood? Rock and roll.
Yeah, and it does. And here's the good news. A couple things. Let's look at that bill. There were two parts to it. It was made public for 3 days. Everyone who wanted to read it, including our office, did. It had two big provisions in it. One was $630 billion of tax cuts, permanent tax cuts. That was my bill. Literally, it's called the Brady Amendment. And not only does it cut taxes and make it permanent, it's the first law that stops the IRS from targeting conservative organizations based on their political beliefs. First time that's now in law, stops them from using their emails on their private accounts, it stops them from targeting our contributors. It also has the first anti-fraud provision since the 1990s in our government tax program. So the first vote, which Nancy Pelosi opposed and fought, but we did draw some Democrats over it, that was the first part of the omnibus, and I'm proud to say that I helped write. Actually, that was my amendment to cut taxes permanently. The second one was how do you fund the government, the day-to-day operations for the rest of the year. And that one, it had, whenever a bill like that is big, which I hate big bills, they ought to be small, they ought to be bite-sized, you ought to be able to understand them. This was a big one. You got to go to your priorities. Here's my number one priority. National defense, fully funding our troops in this war on terror. We're at war. We need to give our troops 100%, and not just dismantle ISIS, defeat it around the world and secure our borders. That was the number one reason to vote for that bill, because my thought is everyone talks a good game about funding.
Senator Rand Paul on Sunday said he...
Sorry about that.
You guys still there?
Yeah, we're still here. We had an interruption. Sorry about that.
That's okay. Let me just say this. Everyone talks a good game about funding our troops, but you got to put your vote in and vote yes when it comes to actually doing it. And one of my aggravations is that people always have their fingers stuck up in the wind, trying to figure out where the political winds are blowing. When it comes to my constitutional responsibility of national security, I fund the troops every time. And so if that bill did nothing else but that, I would have done it. Secondly, it stops this visa waiver loophole that allows foreign terrorist travels to come to America. We stopped it. We closed that loophole. It lifts the ban on exporting American oil around the world, shrinks the EPA, which the EPA is so deep in our businesses' lives, shrinks it back to its 1989 level, shrinks the IRS back to its about 2000 level, and shrinks the whole government, Nathan, back to 2008, before this president went into the White House. Now, you don't hear that because people want to talk about what Republicans won in this omnibus bill. But for me, national security, reining in the IRS, closing that loophole that foreign terrorists could travel to the U.S. in, those are key priorities. Yeah, there were lots of that bill I don't agree with, but you got to set your priorities, and then you got to be willing to take tough votes, because I'll stop with this. Look, you guys didn't send me to Congress to be popular. You sent me there to take the tough votes to get America back on track. I know that makes some people unhappy. I know folks are unhappy about part of that vote, but I've got to do the right thing. I've got to have the backbone to do the right thing, even if it's not popular, and that's what I have, that backbone.
So going into a few things else, national security, legal, illegal immigration, the Syrian refugees, ISIS, securing the borders. What are you going to do if we vote for you, because we've got starting February 16th to March 1, what are you going to do for us?
Yeah, you already know. Here's the good news. you already know because of my track record. I'm the only proved conservative in this race. I have a 100% pro-life voting record. In fact, when people say you're funding Planned Parenthood, Texas Right to Life, National Right to Life disagree. And that's why not only do I have a 100% a voting record, I'm the only candidate endorsed by Texas Right to Life as a champion for the unborn. The only candidate there. Secondly, when it comes to fighting for our Second Amendment rights, I'm the only candidate endorsed by the National Rifle Association as the champion in this race for those who value their Second Amendment rights. I have my lifetime voting record. The good news is, Dick, you can look at everything I voted on. Over all those votes, 95% lifetime conservative voting record, 100% Christian Coalition voting record. So I'm the only proven conservative in this race who, by the way, also was willing to take tough votes that aren't popular if that's what it takes to fund our troops to get us back in line. So, look, this is how, those are my principles. I'm willing to take on any candidate in any of those issues because, again, there's a difference between talking about being conservative and actually taking the tough votes to do it.
Well, and that's one thing, too, is I know you are constantly available to be contacted. If you don't mind, give us out your contact information currently, and especially close it out with, because that was kind of like Vote For Me, I liked it. That's what we want to give the opportunity for these candidates to say on the Meet the Candidates. But how can people go about contacting you, and what is the best way to do that?
And where will you be recently when you're at home if people want to come out and talk to you?
Yeah, we'll be doing roundtable. We just finished a whole series of roundtables with the local law enforcement about terrorism and how that could affect the Montgomery County or the 9 counties that I'm in. We have our schedule. Contact our office. We're on Facebook. We have our website. We've got an e-newsletter. Just come to our webpage at Kevin Brady, Representative Kevin Brady. That's our. That'll Google you right to our website. We have Brady for Congress Facebook page and website as well. But also, look, pick up the phone. Call our local office, 936-441-5700. Give us, email us as well. Look, this. Let me just say, this isn't my seat. This belongs to the people of the 8th Congressional District. I never forget who I work for. I interview every 2 years to keep fighting and working for them. And so I see these races as me interviewing based on my conservative track record and my ability to actually change the direction this country is going, which the chairmanship of the Ways and Means does. But I never forget who I work for. I'm proven pro-family, pro-small business conservative. I'm going to keep, and I always say this, whether you're voting for me or not, I'm going to keep fighting for your conservative values. I just am every day. And so that's Kevin Brady. I'd love to have support your vote going forward in this election, but I'm going to keep fighting one way or the other.
On a personal note, I need you. I've got a mother and father-in-law, Rosemarie and Lou Celentano. They live in Hobe Sound, Florida. I want them to come visit and move here. Tell them why they should do it because they're listening live in Florida to Lone Star Internet Radio.
Man, this is mom and dad?
In-law, mother and father-in-law.
Man, well, one, move here because your son-in-law knows everybody in this county and they love him. Secondly, boy, there's no better place. There's more freedom in Texas and Montgomery County to live your life. You've got people who care about the community. You've got people who, with all the right values, you've got a dynamic economy because Texas is where, you got a dream, you can live it, you can start it. You can start that radio station, that advertise. You can do it and achieve it here in Montgomery County. There's frankly no finer place in the country to live.
I agree. Thank you so much for calling in today, Congressman Brady. And just to let folks know, if you're just now tuning in, we're extending our Meet the Candidate segment. And we did, we're going to podcast the interview with Kevin Brady. You can find him online at bradyforcongress.com. And you can track him right now. I'm tracking you on waysandmeans.house.gov. Again, thank you so much for taking the time to call in, and we wish you luck. And don't forget to vote,
Dick,
folks.
Nate, thanks very much for having me. You got a great show, and I really appreciate being on.
Hey, thank you. We appreciate your time. We know you're busy. I know that you just flew in yesterday, so we'll grab you again.
Thanks. Take care.
Bye. You are listening to Lone Star Internet Radio here at irlonestar.com. Meet the candidates. Coming up in a bit is we have Dwayne Ham, who is with he just gave up. Nathan's just like, I'm done. Drops the mic.
Texas Conservative Tea Party Coalition.
So he's coming in for what?
He is going to make the world premiere announcement of who they endorsed and why.
World premiere.
And they're going to also try to take the time to graciously discuss maybe why they didn't endorse another candidate. You're always going to have people that get their feelings
It's
hurt.
going to be very informative, very exciting.
And we have a special guest. County Judge Craig Doyle will be stopping by to make a couple of comments to that as well.
If people didn't know, we're downtown Conroe, right next to the Crichton Theater. People stop by, and you're allowed to stop by. We're here. We're having fun. You're listening to community radio here on irlonestar.com. I want to play a song for you. This guy named is Moses Rangel, and he's been around for a while. He is a fantastic singer-songwriter. I hope he enjoys. I love this song. This song is called We Ain't Missing Nothing. You're listening to Mornings of Lone Star here on irlonestar.com.
Thank you for checking out a podcast on Lone Star Internet Radio. Lone Star Internet Radio is Montgomery County's community radio station, broadcasting from the heart of Conroe, Texas. If you are interested in sponsoring a program for Lone Star Internet Radio, just visit us online at irlonestar.com or message us on Facebook. We are always taking song requests on Twitter, and if you are interested in getting involved with the station by either hosting your own show or if you want to be a DJ, just contact Dick at irlonestar.com. Lone Star Internet Radio, Montgomery County's community radio station.